Thank you for tuning in. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. We hope your experience is fruitful. Please feel free to visit our website to find out how you can join our growing family. While we are loading your experience, please do us a quick favor and hit that like button from whichever platform you're watching or listening on. Also, share so others may enjoy as well. And we hope you would consider hitting that subscribe or follow button so you can check out more of our amazing content. All right, let's start the show.
And you better talk to me nicely. Next to blow, that bitch I might be. Oh, can't forget all the days they overpriced me. So now that we up, don't get advice from no. Talk to me nicely. I noticed they hit it, we getting icy. Whoa, can't forget all the moments they overpriced me. So now that we up, don't get advice from no. We on top, flipping the bird, they going sick. But I'ma make a meet every.
Hey everybody, it is I, Hope Giselle, and I am back with another episode of I Have Thoughts. I know y'all not used to seeing me in the flesh and live, but when I can come, I come, okay? So I am here this week, and this week we've got to talk about growth, okay? I know that that's a tough thing to discuss. I know that a lot of us are running away from it. I know that there are a lot of us that are just like, no. Why growth, right? I'm trying to stay stagnant. Right here feels real good for me. You know what I'm saying? And I just have to let y'all know that when it comes down to it, growth is something that is inescapable for all of us, including those of us that want to live in a space that feels more comfortable. So I have a couple of things that have forced me to grow in the last couple of weeks. Now, some of y'all are gonna see this as a flex. Some of y'all are gonna feel like this is my own personal remedy to me, but this is just me showing you all the growth, okay? Here is my BGW Elevate magazine cover featuring myself and my amazing fiance, husband, however I want to address him that day, Mr. Xander, okay? And this amazing magazine that features a double cover of us, both front and back, right? So it's a double flipper. Is one of those things that prompted me to understand growth. Now, some of y'all are gonna be like, wait a minute, Hope. Now I'm living for the cover, but how does this equate to growth for you? Let me tell you. A couple of years ago, I was just a girl on the internet that was voicing her opinions about the atrocities of being both on the intersections of being Black, being a woman, being queer, talking about what it meant to be a Black trans woman, specifically the deaths of Black trans women, the deaths and injustices of all Black women in general. And I didn't feel like the words or the work that I was doing and the amount of trauma to my body that I was allowing to take place was showing up in the ways that visibility usually shows up when you are a person who was doing the work that I was doing. Fast forward to this year, little bit of last year, and the last couple of weeks and months all combined, I'm doing things that are monumental like this, right? I'm doing things like being the first Black trans woman to speak at the March on Washington. Now, before those of you all go and get into the logistics, yes, Peppermint did speak on the same day, but I did it first. God damn it. I did it first. Taking that note from Ray J, I did it first, okay? And so the fact is just the fact. I love Peppermint down. I think that Peppermint's speech was really, really great, but I was first. And I'm gonna own that, right? Because growth is also about the idea of owning the things that you do, despite when people try to minimize you or get you to minimize yourself. So with all of these things that have been happening, with being invited to speak with the legendary Miss Ruby Bridges, being able to work with Miss Cheryl Lee Ralph, and all of these amazing people that have come into my life, and all of these deals and things that are popping up, those things come with growth. Right? And with growth comes the understanding that you can't move how you used to move, and you can't say and be the same person that you were before you got the opportunity to step into the spaces that have allowed you to exude or engage in growth behaviors. Now, what do I mean by growth behaviors? Growth behaviors look like letting go of things that no longer serve you. It looks like stepping into things that make you uncomfortable. And it looks like serving the things that you've been neglecting up until this point. point based off of the idea that you were going to do better once you got here, right? A lot of us make promises to ourselves about the things that we're going to do, the amount of time that we're going to make, the things that we're no longer going to tolerate once we get into the space. And then once we get into the space, all of those promises that we make to ourselves, all of those things that we told ourselves that we would do, all of those, late night shenanigan messages that we spoke to ourselves go out of the window because now we are here, right? But growth doesn't look like stagnation for the sake of being comfortable in this new space. It looks like challenging yourself to figure out how you show up in this new space in ways that are going to elevate you even further, right? It's never about getting to the first thing and just staying there and being comfortable. Because what we all know is that once I'm comfortable, I get bored. This might be my favorite room in my entire house. But after I've settled in it, after I farted in these couch cushions a bit, after I burped my last burp from my Diet Coke, I might want to go to one of the bedrooms up in here. And after I've gotten comfortable in there, I might want to venture to the bathroom to take a shower. And once I've comforted myself with a good wrench off, okay, I might want to get comfortable outside, right? And after I've sat at the park for a little bit, I'm going to want to go to the movies. And after I've watched that movie and settled in the comfort of that, I'm going to want to come back to the comfort of my home, because never getting comfortable is the name of the game in every other part of life except for when we're growing. Ain't that about a bitch, y'all? When we get into a new space of life, when we step into this thing that we said that we were going to step into, when we've grown and ascended to this thing that we've been fighting to get to for the longest, that is when we tell ourselves that comfortability should be okay. Because you said that you just wanted to be the first Black woman to, create a neurocentric whatever. You did that. You should be comfortable. But why? Why should I stop at being the first Black woman to create the neurocentric whatever when I can go on to be the first Black woman to cure cancer, and then to be the first Black woman to cure sickle cell, and then to be the first Black woman to do God knows what else, right? Why do we believe that settling in comfort when it comes down to spaces of growth is okay, but we can figure out that being on the couch for too long and settling in that comfort is a problem, right? Why do we settle in the comfort, or why do we settle in the idea that once we've accomplished the mainstream goal, that we should be comfortable in it for the rest of our lives? And I'm moving into a space where what I'm also realizing is that growth has to come from the continued learned experiences of life. And if I am comfortable, I am not learning anything new from life. And so thus I can't grow. If I'm sitting in stagnation, if I'm sitting in the idea that this feels good, if I'm sitting in the idea that nothing here, nothing there, nothing moves me anywhere, right, is okay for me, then guess what? I stunt my growth and I stunt my ability to be able to help others grow and learn from my mistakes, right? Because it's not just about you. It's not about the things that you learn along the way. It's about the way that you retain those things and learn new lessons that other people can then learn from, so that hopefully we become a society of people that learn to pick up on the things that we should be doing, learn to do away with the things that we shan't be doing. And yes, I said shan't. Bringing that back, I'm going to make it a thing like fetch, okay? And we understand that when we decide to step away from those things, that growth then becomes 10 times more possible, because now we're not setting up ourselves to fail. And I don't want to believe, or I don't want to say that in the wrong way and have people being like, but Hope, what do you mean fail? Like if I've met my goal, if I've met my, my 5-year plan or whatever the case may be, shouldn't I get a chance to rest? Shouldn't I get a chance to just kick back and chill? Absolutely. Absolutely. We all deserve space to rest. We all deserve a space to kick back and chill. And especially after you've created a milestone or a step for yourself. But at what cost, right? At what cost do we chill? At what cost do we take too long of a break? Because some of us will reach that mountain peak. Some of us will graduate with that master's, and then we sit around for 5 years on a break. We sit around for 5 years, hopping from couch to couch to couch with meaningless job after meaningless job after meaningless job on a break from something that you did 5 years ago that was taxing. You see, that is not growth. That's not a break. That's not a mental checkout. That is complacency. A lot of us have decided that what happens is I'm going to be complacent with the idea that this was my thing. This is what I'm known for. I've never known a model. I've never known an actor or an actress. I've never known a single celebrity that wants to get one magazine cover. They're all chasing the next movie, the next magazine cover, the next feature, the next iHeartRadio conference, the next speaking gig, the next da-da-da-da-da. Everybody is always chasing a thing not because I just want to be able to have the notoriety, but it's because I want to be able to continue to sharpen my tools. A lot of us are always talking about what it means to grow, but we don't want to do the things that we need to do to get there. So we're talking about the idea of growing. We're talking about the idea of being the next big thing. We're talking about the idea of taking a break, recharging the batteries, doing all of the things that are necessary. But what we're not talking about is that once you've recharged that battery, once you've decided for yourself, okay, I've had enough, I want to get back into the thing that I'm passionate about and I want to grow from it. Now I need to figure out what my next move is. How do I get on that next cover? What is the next X, Y, and Z? How do I formulate my next, whatever physicists do to create cures for things? How do I formulate that thing so I can come up with the next cure, right? And a lot of us feel like doing more makes us less pertinent to the movement. And really what it does is it keeps your name valid and it keeps your name growing in the movement. It keeps your skills sharpened, which keeps you growing in the movement. It keeps you accountable, which makes you grow in the movement. It keeps people coming at you, asking you because you are the subject expert. And that means, guess what? You got to go back to school and learn something from somebody else so that you can continue to do what, class? Grow in the movement. And that doesn't mean just my movement. That's not just the movement of entertainment. That's whatever your movement is. Some of y'all are sitting around right now congratulating yourself on something that happened 3 months ago. And it's not to say that you can't live in it, sis. It's not to say that you can't live in it, bro. It's not to say that you can't live in it, sibling. But it's to say how long you gonna sit there. Because you notice that as you are still pining for people to give a fuck about the thing that you were happy about 3 months ago, folks have moved on because they're waiting on your next step in growth. They're waiting on the idea for what your next idea is going to be. They're waiting on the next opportunity to hear you speak because they want to see how you sharpened your tools since the last time that they heard you open your mouth. They're waiting on the next outfit because they want to see how much you've learned color theory since the last time you put that shit on at that party. They want to hear your next set because they want to hear how your eye and your ear for evolution in music and changing has changed since they last heard you play a set at the party 2 weeks ago. People are constantly expecting growth from us, and people are constantly asking for us to continue to grow. And it's not always a bad thing to do so and to give people what they expect. But what I will say to you all before we head to this break is, what happens when you are only growing at the expectation of the people around you and not due to the things that you are actually passionate about? See, some of y'all are having an issue taking these things in, not because you don't understand what growth is and not because you don't want to do it, but simply because you're not growing for you. You're growing because somebody else planted a seed in some soil and put your name on it and you accepted it. And now you feel rooted in the wrong garden. Now I'll give y'all a second to take that in while we go on this break, and I'll see y'all in a second.
Talk to me nicely. Next to blow, little bitch, I might be. Oh, can't forget all the days they overpriced me.
In a world filled with diversity, where radical faith and progressive believers come together, there's a place that's breaking all boundaries and embracing believers from all walks of life. Bullet and Flight Radio, where believers unite, boundaries break, and love triumphs. Step away from the chaos and noise of your daily life. Experience moments for yourself that are calm, serene, and full of peace. A necessary respite to foster growth within you, because self-care should be luxurious. Luxe Noir.
I noticed they hit it, we getting icy. Whoa, can't forget all the moments they overpriced me. So now that we up, don't get it.
Hey everybody, it is I Hope Giselle, and I am back with another episode of I Have Thoughts. Today's topic is growth, and for those of you all who are just catching this part of the show, I left y'all on a little bit of a cliffhanger, and it is simply because I want y'all to think about exactly who you are growing for. So in the first half of the show, I talked a little bit about growth, how it's uncomfortable, how we should keep doing it, why we should keep doing it, and who we should be doing it for. But the reason why a lot of us are not doing it at all, or have a trouble, or find ourselves in positions where it feels like a task to grow, is because we are planted in somebody else's garden and not our own, right? A lot of the time when we are having issues accepting that growth is happening or change is coming or elevation is afoot, it is because we are not comfortable with the people who it's going to help in its stead, right? So what do you mean when you say that, Hope? Because if I'm growing for me, why would I be upset that it's going to help somebody? Because essentially it's helping me. Not always. What we have to recognize is that sometimes when people are so happy for your growth that it doesn't make sense for you, you have to ask yourself, what is this person getting out of my come up that I am missing? And do I care for that person to have those things on my face? Or should I be taking a little bit more stock in how I allow this person to benefit from me and my growth? Right? A lot of us are having issues with the idea of growing because we understand that our goals are X, Y, and Z. This person's goal were A, B, and C. And we are having a tough time meeting in the middle to figure out how the fuck we are both going to be happy. But newsflash, my love, your growth should benefit you first and foremost before it benefits anybody else. Negotiating growth for the sake of somebody else's approval will never save you in any way, shape, or form, and you got to do away with it. Sometimes you have to uproot yourself from the pot that they planted you in and find a place that's out in the shade underneath the tree that is benefiting you in the way that you need to. A lot of the time, people think that if they curate what they believe is the best type of soil for you, that you are going to sprout, that you are going to grow, that you are going to flourish, and they will be able to collect anything that falls from this plant that they help to set roots up in, right? And a lot of us realize that those things are happening, and instead of moving away from them immediately, we stunt our own growth. Y'all ever have a friend that y'all know wants the best for you, but they want the best for you in their own way, right? And so they see something in you that you might be good at, that you might be passionate about, that you might like a little bit, but that's not the place that you want to go. Those are not the things that you want to see for yourself. That's not the energy that you saw yourself holding for the next 25 years, right? And so you've been stuck in this place because you don't understand, right? You don't understand how this person could mean you well, but it make you feel so bad. The idea of growth coming at the expense of yourself is not growth. It is self-deprecation, right? Seeing yourself grow into somebody else's version of you while it is hurting you is a version or a version or an example of self-deprecation. You don't have to say, oh, I hate myself. You don't have to say, oh, I don't like the way that I look today. You don't have to say, oh, I'm such a bad person. You don't have to be verbally or physically abusive to yourself to self-deprecate. A lot of the times we are walking around this bitch in self-deprecation every single day because we are living the wildest dreams of our grandma. We are living the wildest dreams of our dads. We are living the wildest dreams of our mothers. We are living the wildest dream of our best friend who can't do what we do, but low-key they not our best friend because low-key they want your life, but they don't want to say that they want your life, so they would rather be your friend and not your enemy because they know what it looks like to be your enemy. So low-key that's not really your friend, but you keep them around because they haven't done anything wrong, but you know that they're a hater and you really should do away with them. But at the end of the day, you're willing to deal with it because they haven't done anything wrong to you and you keep leaning on that for the friendship the entire time, but that's a whole other video. I'm just saying. Right? So a lot of the time we are self-deprecating ourselves in order to be in community and in space with people who want to see us show up as the best version of ourselves as it pertains to them and their lens. There are some of us that are out here tailoring the best version of ourselves to what someone else thinks that looks like. And then you ask yourself and you wonder why you are so uncomfortable and so discontent with the idea of possibly stepping into a new era. And it's because you understand and you know that not only do you not want this new era because it's not necessarily what you wanted, but it's no way that you can live up to the idea of what this person wants to see you do, because that is not who you are. So sometimes growth looks like walking away from a thing that feels beneficial, from a thing that looks beneficial to other people, but something that is not for you because it is not in or of you. It is somebody else's idea of how you should show up based off of usually what they can't do for themselves. And we have all seen it. I had an incident earlier this week or earlier last week where I took a picture with the beautiful Cheryl Lee Ralph. Okay. Now, I know I told production that I didn't need y'all to pull up anything, but I need y'all to pull that picture when you get a chance as I tell this story. I took a picture with the beautiful Cheryl Lee Ralph at an event that I was invited to, where I spoke on a panel with the icon, okay, Miss Ruby Bridges, whose presence literally and single-handedly desegregated schools. And I took this picture with Cheryl, and it felt really good to be in space and to hold conversation with this legend. And in this room, it was dark because it was a banquet. People were eating, like there were a bunch of different things happening and a bunch of different things going on. And one of the things that I hate when I'm in a dimly lit room is the way that pictures don't really show up the way that they need to show up unless you have a professional camera. Okay. So I took this picture with, Miss Cheryl Lee Ralph, and this picture was filtered. And this picture was also overexposed, right? Because we had to use flash in a dark room on two darker skinned women. There's the picture, y'all. So, because I am no stranger to a good Facetune, Photoshop, editor, glamour shot moment, I took the liberty of not only, right, enhancing the features of both myself and Miss Cheryl Lee Ralph, but enhancing the features of the things that were around us and blurring out the things that were not important to this picture. Because for me, I wanted to see this later on and be like, oh my God, I remember this night. It was beautiful. And I also didn't want Cheryl to come on my page because I tagged her in the photo and not see a reflection of herself that she could be okay with. Because the one thing that I noticed and the one thing that I hate is when I see my favorite celebrities out here and they take a picture with a motherfucker who knows that that picture is unflattering and still post it. I have seen people take pictures with some of my faves and they will do the work on them, but then leave the celebrity looking like who did it and why, right? And I am very open about the idea of using filters and using the Photoshops and using the brighteners and all of those things to enhance photos on a regular basis because I'm a trans woman with insecurities, right? And it's one of the things that I find to be growth is that you can say that you're a person with insecurities, because a lot of people walk around here pretend like they're just happy with everything that they have going on. I'm not. Right? And while a lot of people might think that I'm a vision of beauty, that I don't need to do nothing, I don't even have to wear makeup, I ain't got to da-da-da-da-da, there are things about myself that I have an issue with. And so I personally, right, like the idea of making those things look a little bit smoothed out when I present myself to the audience. Now, I will say, looking side by side, that still look like me with a face full of makeup. I didn't do anything to change the general composition of how I look, except make the picture brighter and smooth out some shit that I think me and Auntie Cheryl would have liked to be smoothed the fuck up out, okay? But the growth portion in this is that somebody took it upon themselves to call out the fact that this picture was photoshopped, right? And this young person decided that they wanted to make it their business to leave it in the comment section. And they wanted to do the backward or the backhanded compliment and say, oh my God, Hope, I think that you're so beautiful. You don't need to, you don't need to do that. Now, my first reaction was, bitch, who asked you? Right? That was my first reaction. My initial reaction was, bitch, who asked you? Like, who was really talking to you enough for you to think that it was okay for you to, because you could have just said that the picture was, or you could have just put it in the group chat, because you could, who asked you, bitch, right? 25-year-old Hope would have made a 45-minute long video saying fuck you. And then another hour-and-a-half long video getting other people to agree that we all don't like you. 30-year-old Hope with a little bit of growth behind her said, let me call you in, right? And remind you that the way that we want to see ourselves is up to us. The way that we want to expose ourselves to the world are ultimately up to us. The way that we want people to view us is ultimately up to us. And the idea of, as a Black woman, commenting on how other Black women decide to portray themselves or be seen in the world is it honestly says a lot more about you than it does about me. I'm honest with myself about the fact that there are things that make me insecure and that make me feel away. But are you? I'm honest with myself about the way that this comment made me feel. But would you be as honest if I said the same things about the things that you probably feel insecure about? The growth in this situation was that I could have decided to weaponize my audience. I could have decided to make that young lady feel as weird and as awkward about her body and her self-image as she almost made me feel. But I chose that moment to educate her and remind her about how words can often land and impact people, even if that is not our intention. Even if our goal is to remind somebody of what we think the most beautiful parts of them are, it doesn't necessarily mean that that person is ready, willing, or even wanted to be in a place to receive those comments. And so it's gonna have to be up to us to be more mindful about when we offer, right, unwarranted opinions or advice. So my final words for y'all today are this. Here are my final thoughts. Growth is not easy. It is never going to smack you in the face. It is never going to be a thing that you walk through and never feel. It's not going to be something that you slide into. It's not going to be something that you don't notice after it's happened. Growth is a thing that we all have to accept is always happening, forever moving, and it affects every single person in this world, whether they like it or not. How you utilize it and how you experience it, however, are up to you. Don't waste your growth and don't waste the best years of life for growth on somebody else's dream because you don't want to let down grandma and them. Don't waste your growth on your best friend who could never hold two notes because they want to be a singer and they're pushing you to be a singer when your entire life all you've ever wanted to do is serve salads. Don't allow other people to tell you what your growth should look like when you've ultimately already set up in your mind what the plan is going to be and the things that you need to do to get there. When people understand how other folks can manipulate their growth, they can also understand how to unstunt it and how to continue to maintain it so they can maintain their peace, their wisdom, their power, and ultimately benefit the people that they would like to see benefit from their growth. It is up to us to decide how we want this thing to look at the end of the day. And if you allow other people, other things, other places, opportunities that feel missed to make you feel like you can remain stagnant and complacent in what you got going on instead of moving into your power and your purpose, don't be mad at the universe when you realize that you look up and it's 20 years later and the thing that you coulda, shoulda, woulda done, you didn't do because you were too afraid to grow. Until next time, everybody, have the day that you deserve, and I'll see y'all around. Bye, everybody.
Talk to me nicely. I noticed they hit it, we getting icy. Whoa, can't forget all the moments they overpriced me. So now that we up, don't good advice, we know.